Representative Kennedy, you are recognized to introduce the Veteran of the Week.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, when you go out and you start campaigning, it's pretty intimidating to do, but I will tell you, when you're a young Marine Corps officer gets off active duty, one of the first people whose door you knock is a Marine from Korea. It gives you some chills, especially when they say, "Were you a Marine?" And you say yes, and he says, "Come in here." So I will tell you that Mr. Bartholomew was one of the first folks that I had the opportunity to meet whenever I was out campaigning. And I will tell you this, you all know and understand all the wars that our great men and women have fought in this country. Many of us have served. I served in Iraq and Afghanistan, but there is no war and no time that was more difficult than Korea. Because not only were we fighting a pretty formidable enemy, you had to deal with the elements. And it was very difficult to get through, and it took a lot of trials and tribulations. And you really had to have a lot of folks who had the ability to withstand those tests of time. And I will tell you that Mr. Bartholomew has not lost many of those qualities, as I made the mistake when I asked him on the second floor if he wanted to take the elevator or take the stairs, and you could probably guess what his answer was. So without further ado, Madam Speaker, I'd ask the clerk to read the citation.
Clerk will read.
Whereas Robert Bartholomew served 3 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, beginning with boot camp at Camp Pendleton in July of 1952. From there, he was stationed to Camp Lejeune, then deployed overseas as a part of a Recon Company to Qinhuangdao in North Korea, near the Yellow Sea. In North Korea, he was charged with chasing down refugees from North Korea heading south and determining refugees from enemies. His final deployment brought him back to the best job, sergeant in charge of the rifle range in McAlester. Notably, during his tenure with the U.S. Marines, Sergeant Bartholomew was promoted to Corporal and Sergeant Meritorious. Whereas Robert Bartholomew is among the most honored of all those in public service, veterans who have protected all Americans from enemies, both foreign and domestic. And whereas the state of Oklahoma holds our veterans in the highest esteem and appreciates the sacrifices and contributions they have made in order to preserve our freedoms and way of life. And whereas the Oklahoma House of Representatives of the 55th Legislature takes great pride in honoring Robert Bartholomew as Veteran of the Week. Now, therefore, pursuant to the motion of Representative Chris Kennedy, the state of Oklahoma extends to Robert Bartholomew sincere commendations, directs that this citation be presented.
Madam Speaker, I would ask you to recognize Mr. Bartholomew.
Mr. Bartholomew, it is an honor to recognize you this morning.
You may be seated. First of all, I want to ditto what the pastor said. I want to thank you for your services. Even though sometimes we don't always agree, we have to have somebody that is there willing to pick up the shovel and throw another shovel load on something. I have always thought that the one thing that you don't do is you don't give an old man a microphone and a podium. Because the first thing he's going to do is going to start talking about his kids, his grandkids, why he bought a white car instead of a red car, got the big engine. He's going to tell you all those things. He especially is going to tell you all the medical problems that he has. When he tells you what he had for dinner last night and starts to tell you what effects it had on him, get up and walk out. It is my pleasure to be here. I, like Representative Kennedy, have served my time, and I truly, and don't say I enjoyed it, but I truly did it and I would not like to do it again. That's one of the reasons that I would also ask that we have peace. And I think the United States is going to look at Oklahoma in the next election. I want to do one thing while I have command of this podium, because they're getting ready to cut me off, I'm sure. But one of the things I want to tell you is 71 years ago, I was a page on this very floor.
Isn't it the first class? Isn't it the first class?
Yeah. A representative, Streeter Speakman from Creek County, I think was one of the promoters of the position that we would have pages on a week or 2 week basis, because a page coming in January would miss half a school year if they went through the whole thing. So they started breaking it up. I haven't been able to confirm this completely, but I think I was the first page under that program. The only thing that I would say to the pages up here and back here, this is an experience that you won't forget. Sometimes it doesn't seem to mean anything, but down the road it will. You'll learn how to shake hands. You'll learn how to talk to adults. You'll learn how to listen to the adults. And you get and set your mind to what needs to be done on a daily basis in this house. I commend you for being here today, the pages. I want to thank everybody for allowing me this opportunity, but now I was invited here to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. And is that okay now?
Will members and guests of the gallery please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been an honor.